Donald Trump will meet with President Biden at the White House on Wednesday. It's unclear what the pair will discuss, but Congress will almost certainly be a topic. This is as the future of Speaker Mike Johnson is on the chopping block. According to reporting from the Hill, hardline conservatives are plotting to challenge the Louisiana congressman for the gavel. The House is set to consider Johnson in internal elections on Wednesday.
Now, Johnson faced a challenge of a kind in May when Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and Congressman Thomas Massie sought to oust him. But he retained the gavel on that occasion after Democrats and Republicans joined forces to thwart the Greene-Massie effort. The Speaker, who has clung close to Trump, is optimistic he'll win the Speakership once again. He spoke to reporters on Tuesday, telling them he has got Trump's support. Let's watch.
I think you're going to have a very different mood in the Republican conference going forward because we do have unified government. We have an extraordinary opportunity ahead of us. Nobody wants to squander that.
Being Speaker of the House with Republicans in charge seems like a pretty difficult job.
Worst job in Washington, I would say.
Yeah, they are continuously frustrated, although I would say Mike Johnson earned their frustration in many ways, the frustration of people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, who said, why did we bother replacing Kevin McCarthy if we just got someone who has all the same policy priorities? They were particularly upset that there was prioritization of Ukraine funding and some other things that he seems to march in lockstep with Democrats and with Biden on that. I don't know that challenge to him will be successful because Trump seems to have his back in a way that Trump didn't quite have Kevin McCarthy's back, but we will find out.
We will. I mean, obviously it is a very, very fractious Republican conference, and some of that is because there are people who are sort of troublemakers and political bomb throwers, but there are also very legitimate political differences. So you have Republicans, I assume they will be back, most of them in this Congress, who previously were representing districts that President Biden had won in 2020. They need to be concerned about moderate challengers or centrist Democrats. Then you have the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world and the Thomas Massies of the world. And you also have people, well, actually Massie is in this category, I think, people who have legitimate objections to what they see as excessive government spending. Now, obviously, Liberals, progressives don't see it that way at all. But people like Chip Roy, for example, the congressman from Texas, is someone who, as best I can make out, is very sincere about believing that the government is often wasteful in its spending or the president tries to usurp congressional authority. And in an odd way, someone like that is more difficult for a speaker to contend with because it's not just theatrics. He can't really be mollified in quite the same way as some of the other people who I think do these things, frankly, for publicity and Twitter clout and all the rest.
Well, and someone like Massie wants to reduce government spending on all fronts. I mean, this is the problem with Republicans is they say they want lower government, but then when they actually get in charge, what you get is more government spending, particularly on the military and other things, and then you don't actually get cuts to social services, healthcare, Medicare, that kind of thing, the entitlements, which really do bankrupt us.
But serve an important social good, Robby.
Serve a social good of sorts. But Massie does, and Rand Paul does, and the small number, very small, too small, I would argue, number of actually libertarian-leaning Republicans do want also to cut down on the military spending. Massie has been very vocal about not wanting to give unlimited aid to Israel. That actually earned him an AIPAC negative sort of ad. Didn't matter. He won his district defiantly. I think, again, it goes to show that even many Republican primary voters feel similarly about how much involvement, military assistance, et cetera, we should be doing in the rest of the world. So, that goes to show you. But it'll be interesting to see if we get a new speaker and how they handle all this. I'm also, of course, interested to know what Biden and Trump might end up talking about. I think Trump is usually he's defeated the Democrats. Right. There's no need to pile on. I'm sure it will be a courteous, gracious. Once he's won, he doesn't continue the
rubbing the salt in the wound.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I'm sure it will be a nice meeting, and probably that will be it.
Yeah, I suspect it will be. I mean, this happened in 2016 when, of course, Barack Obama was the outgoing president. Trump won that shock victory over Hillary Clinton. As best as I can remember, that was a civil, if body language-wise, tense meeting. And
I believe Trump said it was civil. I said he had a nice meeting with Obama. And
he was quite nice about Obama, and Obama was, civil toward him.
Trump is very gracious in victory, not so much in defeat, but very gracious in victory.
And to the point about not being gracious in defeat, he did not invite Biden in 2020.
No.
He didn't accept the outcome of the election, and we know where that got us, and now he's back in again. But look, I mean, Biden also, we have been very critical of him from different perspectives on this show, but he is sort of an institutionalist and a traditionalist in many ways. So I think the fact that this is the sort of customary thing for the outgoing president to do to his successor, I do not imagine Biden will take even the slightest jab at Trump, and I suspect that will be reciprocated.
Do we know if Biden plans to attend the inauguration?
I don't believe it has been explicitly stated, but I think it is assumed that he will do. Now, I'm assuming a sitting or an outgoing vice president also does, which means that Kamala Harris would be there. Hillary Clinton famously did go in, well, I guess it was early 2017 for the inauguration.
Yes.
And seemed quite ashen-faced and disgusted, as you might expect, but she did actually show up, so it'll be interesting to watch.
I saw Kamala Harris, there was a photo on social media of her playing with the little kids.
That's right. Her
nieces or something.
I think so. Her nieces or grand.
And this was I think this was a Libs of TikTok thing, which I just totally disagree with. She clearly had like a glass of white wine, Chardonnay or something, and then people were like, Libs of TikTok was like, oh, surprise! What is wrong with that? It's fine. Let the lady have some wine. Jesus Christ, it's fine.
I mean, also, if you've lost a presidential election, which is a kind of life and career defining moment, I think you're allowed to unwind in some fashion without massive mockery or derision.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kamala's future is probably not going to be in politics anymore. I don't think she'll want it. I think, she's probably going to do speaking kind of thing, book writing kind of thing, right? Do you envision any other role for her?
Thought leadership and all that stuff, and lots of well-paid conferences. I don't really see a political way back. Now, some people disagree with me on this and think that she can make the argument that she only had 100 days or whatever it was. She was facing headwinds because of Biden and inflation. Maybe it wasn't her fault. But I get back to the thing that, I don't necessarily see Kamala Harris as a particularly formidable politician. She certainly wasn't in the 2020 primary. I think she had good moments in this campaign, but those kind of fell away into things like, there's not a thing I would have done differently, and other awkward moments. I think, honestly, she'd be better taking the L and going on with the rest of her life.
Yeah, it was just not that close at the end of the day. If it would have been a little bit closer, maybe she could have made that argument. And she still can make that argument, and she was in a difficult position, but yeah, I don't see much for her. Another question is Joe Biden's political career actually over, because I will just point this out, he is eligible to run again for president one day.
The non-consecutive Biden term.
We could have a non-consecutive Biden term following a non-consecutive Trump term.
Second term beginning when he's 81 now and he's about to turn 82, so a second term beginning when he's 86.
Stranger things have happened.
Biden 2028.
You heard it here first. Well, there's a lot more to talk about today on Rising, including that interview with Ken Klippenstein coming up next. Please stay tuned.